It's March 3rd, 2024, in Greensboro, North Carolina. A 64-year-old Sting is about to wrestle the final match of his career in the main event of AEW Revolution. Every fan inside the Greensboro Coliseum knows they are witnessing history. 3 years earlier, many fans expected Sting to make a few appearances, deliver some nostalgia, and quietly fade away. Instead, he returned to the ring, won championship gold, and formed a genuine partnership with Darby Allin. This is the story of how an aging legend wrote an ending almost nobody saw coming. Sting made his surprise AEW debut on December 2nd, 2020, during the Winter is Coming edition of Dynamite. The show took place at Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida, during the COVID-19 pandemic. Only a limited number of fans were allowed inside, but when the lights went down, artificial snow began falling, and Sting walked onto the stage holding his black baseball bat. The atmosphere felt electric. It was Sting's first appearance on a wrestling program airing on TNT since the final episode of WCW Monday Nitro in March 2001. AEW announced afterward that he had signed a multi-year contract. Sting had not wrestled since facing Seth Rollins in WWE in September 2015. He suffered a serious neck injury during that match and announced his retirement during the 2016 WWE Hall of Fame ceremony. So when he joined AEW at 61, most people did not expect him to become an active wrestler again. Maybe he would cut a few promos, stand beside a younger star, and occasionally chase somebody away with his baseball bat. Instead, Sting immediately became involved in Darby Allin's rivalry with Team Taz. The question was no longer whether Sting could still create a memorable television moment. It was whether his body could handle another match. Darby Allin became the person who defined Sting's entire AEW run. Darby had the face paint, outsider personality, and fearless style that reminded many fans of Sting. Their personalities were different, but the pairing made sense immediately. Sting's first match in more than 5 years took place at AEW Revolution on March 7, 2021. He and Darby faced Brian Cage and Ricky Starks in a pre-recorded cinematic street fight. The format gave AEW more control over the environment, but Sting still did much more physically than people expected. He fought inside a warehouse and pinned Ricky Starks after hitting the Scorpion Death Drop. That match proved Sting was not in AEW just to shake hands and pose for pictures. He had returned to compete. His next major test came at Double or Nothing in May 2021, when Sting and Darby faced Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky in a traditional live match. Sting took a suplex on the entrance ramp, immediately popped back up and launched himself from the oversized poker chip set on the stage onto Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. He later pinned Sky with the Scorpion Death Drop. The crowd chanted, "You still got it," and fans could clearly see that Sting could still perform in a regular match. From there, Sting and Darby became a recurring attraction, sometimes as a two-man team and other times in larger tag matches. On television, Sting was the experienced veteran watching Darby's back. Away from the ring, their partnership grew into a genuine friendship and mentorship. It became more than a storyline. It was one generation helping the next. By 2022 and 2023, Sting had settled into a clear role. He was not wrestling every week, but when he appeared, fans expected something memorable. He jumped from balconies, crashed through tables, and performed stunts that seemed unbelievable for a man in his early 60s. AEW managed his schedule carefully, but Sting did not want his final run to feel slow or overly protected. He wanted it to feel exciting. On October 18, 2023, Sting announced that his final match would take place at AEW Revolution 2024. The date and location were revealed several weeks later. Revolution would take place on March 3rd at the Greensboro Coliseum. That building carried enormous historical importance. At the first Clash of the Champions in March 1988, Sting challenged Ric Flair for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship in the same arena. Their 45-minute draw helped establish Sting as a major star. Returning to Greensboro for his final match brought his career full circle. After the announcement, every appearance carried more emotional weight. Fans knew they were watching the final months of a career that had lasted nearly 4 decades. There was still one major accomplishment missing. Sting had never won a championship in AEW. On February 7, 2024, Sting and Darby challenged Ricky Starks and Big Bill for the AEW World Tag Team Championships in a tornado tag match. Sting brawled through the crowd and jumped from a balcony onto his opponents. In the final moments, he hit Ricky Starks with the Scorpion Death Drop to win the match. At 64 years old, Sting had finally captured championship gold in AEW. The celebration did not last long. The Young Bucks attacked Sting, Darby, and Sting's sons, establishing themselves as Sting's final opponents. On March 3rd, Sting and Darby defended the tag titles against the Young Bucks in the main event of Revolution. The entrance became a celebration of Sting's entire career. His sons, Garrett and Stephen Borden, appeared dressed as two classic versions of their father. Garrett represented Surfer Sting, while Stephen wore the red and black face paint of Wolfpack Sting. As the match began, Garrett and Stephen entered the ring and delivered stinger splashes to the Young Bucks. Ric Flair accompanied Sting at ringside, while Ricky the Dragon Steamboat served as special guest timekeeper. Their presence connected Sting's farewell to the era that first made him a star. Once the match started, things became violent quickly. Sting was suplexed from the stage through tables. Darby climbed a ladder and attempted to dive onto Nicholas Jackson, but Nicholas moved, sending Darby crashing through a pane of glass positioned across chairs on the floor. Sting was powerbombed through a table and thrown through glass, but he kept getting back up. Flair and Steamboat also became involved. Steamboat stopped Nicholas Jackson from using a championship belt, while Flair tried to protect Sting before the Young Bucks attacked both legends. The Young Bucks hit Sting with some of their strongest moves, but he refused to stay down. Darby eventually recovered and helped take Nicholas out of the match. Sting hit Matthew Jackson with the Scorpion Death Drop. Darby followed with the Coffin Drop, and Sting locked in the Scorpion Deathlock. Matthew tapped out. Sting and Darby retained the championships. That meant Sting retired with a perfect 29-0 record in AEW. He walked away as one half of the AEW World Tag Team Champions, and the titles were vacated after his retirement. After the final bell, the Greensboro crowd gave Sting a long and emotional ovation. Sting thanked the fans and reflected on how the same building had helped put him on the map during his match with Ric Flair in 1988. At the post-show media scrum, Sting said the farewell ranked among the top 3 matches of his entire career. That confirmed AEW and everyone involved had given him the ending he wanted. Sting's AEW run became far more than a nostalgia appearance or a retirement tour. He returned from an injury that once appeared to have ended his career. He formed a genuine partnership with Darby Allin, won championship gold at 64, and retired without suffering a single AEW defeat. Most wrestling legends do not receive a perfect ending. Some stay too long. Others are forced to retire before they are ready. Many never get the proper goodbye they deserve. Sting received something much rarer. He walked away on his own terms, inside the building that helped make him a star, with a championship around his waist, his sons beside him, and an entire arena thanking him one final time. What is your favorite Sting memory from WCW, TNA, WWE, or AEW? Drop it in the comments, and stick around for more.